Hi there, business owner. Do you want a better understanding of business finance, what your numbers actually mean, and stories of the highs and lows of business, where I'll be sharing my tips and tricks every week? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast with Stephanie. Hi there, welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I'm Stephanie, your host, and this week we are discussing niching. And in the theme of Shakespeare, to niche or not to niche, that is the question. So let's go through it step by step and see if niching is the best or not the best idea for your business. So first things first, what actually is niching? Niching is a business strategy which focuses on targeting a specific area or a specialised market segment rather than targeting a broad audience with your marketing messaging. When business owners choose to niche, they intentionally narrow down their target market and tailor their products, their services, and their marketing efforts to cater to the unique needs, pain points, and desires of that particular niche. It is important to note, however, that your niche does not need to be the only customers you serve, and I feel like this often gets confused when people are discussing niching as a whole. Picture a dartboard. The bullseye in the centre is your niche, and your messaging is directly aimed towards it. It can also be called an ideal client if you're directing your messaging and your products and services towards that one particular person, type of person, niche. However, if your customers are in the outer rings, you can still serve them and some of your messaging will resonate with them too. It's just that it gives you a better focus on where to actually aim your marketing. Another way to look at niching is something that Joe Wood once said to me, and that is when you niche, you do get a slice of the pie. Now that's the pie being the whole audience of whatever is receiving the marketing messaging you're putting out there or whoever you're aiming your products or services to. And Joe says that you do get a slice of the pie. So it's a smaller slice of the pie, but you get the whole slice. And there's many advantages and there's also disadvantages as to when niching does or doesn't work for each business. So I'm going to go through a few of them now. Now, as I said, the decision to niche can have several advantages. Firstly, it allows business owners to target their marketing efforts more effectively, reaching a receptive audience that is genuinely interested in what they have to offer. If you are just posting on social media or posting for posting's sake or just marketing, you're just throwing it out there and hoping that it sticks. If you have a clear plan, you know who you're marketing to and what your messaging is going to say, and that it's going to address their pain points and their desires, you're going to have a much better return on the time invested in that marketing. Another benefit to having a niche is that it often means there's reduced competition as the specialised market segment that you are targeting is typically less crowded. This can lead to an increased market share and potentially higher profit margins, which refers back to what I was just saying about you get a smaller slice of the pie, but you get the whole slice. And that can be much more beneficial to businesses if they're just aiming for something very specialised. And also another great benefit to niching is that enables business owners to develop expertise and establish themselves as industry leaders within their chosen niche. So for example, at ABCS UK, we specialise in business owners who are directors of limited companies, who are female, who are UK based and are at 6 figures, 7 figures and wanting to scale past the vet threshold and need that support with the confidence and clarity on their numbers to enable them to make better, more informed business decisions and scale quicker and more profitably. Now, I've discussed some of the benefits of having a niche, and as I said at the beginning of the episode, not every business works well by having a niche. In some businesses, having a niche can be a potential drawback. For example, think of Tesco, the supermarket. If they only sold to businessmen over the age of 30, because of the way their business runs and their business setup, that would not be very profitable, and ultimately that business would most likely fail due to the number of that niche audience in the area of where they're going to locate the business. Also, with Tesco being a brick and mortar business, a physical location, that also affects their target market, so they can't niche as easily as an online business or a remote business or a business that can cater to a specific audience and reach them relatively easily. By focusing on a narrow market or a niche, there may be a limited pool of potential customers, which could limit growth opportunities. Now, this is similar to what I was saying about Tesco, but you need to make sure there is a large enough audience there that is easily attainable for you to actually reach and sell your products or services to. Otherwise, that niche could then stop you growing to the 6 and 7 figure business that you want to build. Additionally, relying solely on a niche market can make a business more susceptible to market fluctuations and shifts in customer preferences. Now, this was very apparent when COVID came around in the pandemic. So any business that was brick and mortar based, that didn't have an online presence, that meant people interacted one-on-one or one to a group. If you think of bike cycling classes or Zumba classes or personal training group sessions, all those things had to stop. And because of that, they couldn't earn, their businesses couldn't sustain. A lot of them ultimately failed, or they had to adapt very quickly to shift with the market and shift with what they could do during those times. So it is really important when deciding on a niche is to consider what would happen if the market fluctuated, if there was a shift in customer preferences, if something like the pandemic happened again. It doesn't need to be as severe as the pandemic. It could be smaller things that go in and out of fashion, for example. If everybody suddenly becomes gluten-free and you're selling gluten products, then how would your business cope if that you were only serving that niche? And it wouldn't be an episode of the 3Bs podcast without my top tip of the week. Now, my top tip of the week this week is actually an actionable task that I really would like to go away and do. And that is to get a piece of paper or open a Word document on a computer and make a list of the pros and cons for your niche. Now, if you don't have a niche already, make a list of 5 potential niches, narrow it down to the 3 that you would most like to serve, and then use those 3 to find the pros and cons of each different niche. And that will give you more focus and more clarity on who you are directing your marketing at going forward. And remember that you do not have to only serve the people in your niche, and that people that are not in your niche will also resonate with some of your marketing materials. So it's important to be clear and concise, but don't completely close yourself off to customers outside of your niche. And just like that, we're at the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I just want to take a second to thank you so much for your support. And if you could do me one little favour this week and leave a rate or a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, it really helps me reach more business owners and support more businesses to build better businesses. So I'd really, really appreciate if you could do that for me. And that brings us to the end of another week of the 3Bs podcast with Stephanie. Thank you so much for listening. I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, rate and review this podcast wherever you are listening to it, so that I can reach more business owners and help them build better businesses. See you next week for the next episode.